Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're strapping in to settle a pretty serious, high-stakes conflict. It's really redefined competitive online activity. We're talking about the modern battle between, well, convenience and control. Specifically, online poker in 2025, this showdown between mobile and desktop platforms.
Yeah, the big one.
So our mission here isn't just comparing gadgets. It's more like we're dissecting a fundamental case study. Online poker, it's data-driven, super competitive, and it's been completely reshaped by things like 5G responsive user interfaces, stuff like that. If you want to see how fast tech can flip an industry, this is it. By the end of this deep dive, you should know exactly which platform really fits your style, your skill level, and, well, your life.
And it's important you realize just how fast this all happened. I mean, for nearly 20 years, the desktop PC was, well, it was everything for serious players. You needed that power, that screen size. It was really the only game in town. But now, when we look at the data, mobile's genuinely achieved, like, professional grade status. And this didn't just happen randomly.
Okay, so let's unpack that evolution. Thinking back to the early 2000s, poker boom. That whole world, right? The detailed interfaces, multi-tabling, all the stats tools, was all built for desktop, needed that stable wired internet connection.
Absolutely. Think about the physical setup. Yeah, big monitor, mouse, keyboard. That was just fundamental if you were grinding high volume. The game clients themselves were incredibly data heavy. They were designed for screen resolutions you just didn't have on early smartphones. You were basically chained to your desk if you were serious.
Right. Then the smartphone revolution kicks off, and, well, mobile poker at first. Strictly for, let's call them tourists, clunky graphics, maybe delayed actions, one table if you were lucky. It felt like a novelty, not a serious tool.
Totally.
So what changed? When did mobile actually start to get, good?
Well, the shift got serious around the late 2010s, maybe.
Yeah.
The real tipping point. The moment it became viable for, like, serious competition.
Yeah.
That was when specific consumer tech got integrated. We really talk about three main drivers here.
Okay, I'm guessing the first one has to be 5G connectivity.
Precisely. We often talk about 5G speed, sure, but for poker, the competitive edge is that ultra-low latency. Think about it when you're playing multiple tables, saving even tiny fractions of a second on each decision. It adds up incredibly fast. That reduced lag means more hands per hour, obviously, but critically, it gives you more thinking time when you're up against the clock on a tough decision.
That's a key strategic point right there. Speed equals volume, less mental fatigue maybe. But what about how it looks? You mentioned better graphics. Does a slicker game actually help you play better?
It really does, especially when you're playing for hours. That's the second driver, the much improved mobile GPUs. Early mobile games looked flat, kind of basic now.
Yeah.
You've got rich 3D graphics, smooth animations, even detailed table physics that honestly rival desktop. And why that matters strategically, well, it reduces eye strain for one. But it also helps with cognitive load. If the interface is clean, visually intuitive, you spend less mental energy just processing the client.
And more processing your opponent makes sense.
Exactly.
And the final piece, the thing that really makes it all portable and usable on the go, that has to be the responsive user interfaces, right? The apps aren't just tiny desktop versions anymore.
No, that was the old problem. Now they're purpose-built. Designed for touch screens, designed for different screen sizes. So the buttons are big enough to hit reliably, the crucial info is right there where you need it, and it adapts, whether you're on a small phone or a big tablet. Without that UI revolution, all the 5G speed wouldn't matter much.
Okay, so tech leaps forward. Now let's translate that into actual player experience. Let's start with mobile, the champion of flexibility, the mobile UX.
Yeah, for the casual player or even intermediate. The convenience is it's massive. Mobile enables what some call opportunity play. You're waiting for a bus, on a coffee break, maybe sitting through a long meeting. You can squeeze in 20 hands.
And the apps are built for exactly that kind of play. You've got intuitive stuff like touchscreen controls, special layouts for one-hand gameplay, and for a beginner. The mobile app often feels way less intimidating. Simpler layout, usually. Fewer overwhelming stats right in your face. Often they even have little tutorial pop-ups, maybe AI tips on tricky hands. Less scary to jump into.
True, but then you shift focus to the serious player, the grinder. And the desktop UX, It still holds these really significant, maybe even insurmountable advantages. It's all about depth and precision.
And that primarily comes down to the bigger screen, yeah.
It's the sheer capacity for multitasking, really. Desktop players can comfortably run, say, 4, 6, maybe even 12 tables side by side, resizable windows, custom layouts. You just cannot replicate that level of simultaneous action efficiently on a small phone screen. It's physically impossible. When a pro is grinding, playing thousands, tens of thousands of hands, volume is everything for their hourly rate. Desktop maximizes that volume.
Okay, so that really clarifies the split then. Flexibility, short bursts, easy access, mobile's your winner. But maximum volume, deep analysis, long sessions, desktop is basically required.
Exactly. The pros trade that flexibility for absolute control and the ability to process just vast amounts of information almost instantly.
Let's dig into that processing and stability, because this feels critical, especially when real money is involved. The sources kept calling the desktop wired broadband connection the gold standard for stability. Why is that specific consistency so vital?
Because instability costs real money. Simple as that. If you're dup in a big online tournament, thousands of dollars potentially on the line. A dropped connection is disastrous. A wired desktop connection pretty much eliminates that risk. Mobile, even with great Wi-Fi 6 or a solid 5G, is just inherently more vulnerable. Drive through a tiny dead spot, your home Wi-Fi hiccups for a second, you could time out, lose vital chips, maybe even fold a winning hand automatically.
Oh, wow.
All while your opponent is sitting there, safe and sound on their rock-solid Ethernet cable.
That vulnerability. Yeah, that seems like the absolute deal breaker for a pro on mobile. They just can't afford that kind of risk.
You really can't. And that brings us neatly to the tooling gap. This is maybe the single biggest strategic difference between the two platforms. Desktop is the platform of choice, often the only choice for advanced strategy tools, specifically third-party heads-up displays or HUDs.
Okay, let's unpack that term HUD. What exactly is it, and why is it so important that mobile apps almost always ban them?
So a HUD is basically software. It runs as an overlay on top of your poker client. It tracks every single hand you've played against your opponents, and it displays real-time stats right next to their avatar on the table. It's like injecting a massive data stream directly into your decision-making. Think of stats like, well, two crucial ones are VPIP and PFR.
VPIP, voluntarily put in pot.
Right. And PFR is pre-flop raise percentage. So if you see an opponent with a VPIP of, say, 60%, you instantly know they play way too many hands that are loose. Or if someone has a PFR of just 5%, they hardly ever raise before the flop's super tight. A desktop player with a HUD sees this instantly.
While the mobile player is flying blind, basically, relying on memory or gut feeling.
Pretty much. They don't have that hard data point right there.
Okay.
So the reason mobile apps ban HUDs is often cited as keeping a level playing field for recreational players. But of course, it severely handicaps the data-driven pro using mobile.
Yeah, and the app stores themselves often have rules against apps that scrape screen data or run overlays, right? Which makes these tools almost impossible on mobile anyway.
That's a huge factor. App Store restrictions are a major barrier. That said, mobile has innovated in its own ways, focusing on convenience features that desktop often lacks.
Like the gestures. I find stuff like the swipe to fold action really smooth and efficient.
Yeah, it's all about reducing friction for quick play. And push notifications telling you your tourney is starting or it's your turn. Those are invaluable if you're multitasking away from the app.
So mobile optimizes for grab-and-go play.
While desktop optimizes for that focused, sustained assault. Different tools for different missions.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. Security. This seems like an area where, thankfully, both platforms are pretty strong these days.
Generally, yes. The leading platforms all use strong end-to-end encryption. And 2FA two-factor authentication is pretty much standard now. That protects your funds, your identity, regardless of device. Plus, real-time fraud detection running in the background.
But the types of risks you face are different, aren't they?
Drastically different. On mobile, the big bogeyman is public Wi-Fi, that classic man-in-the-middle attack scenario.
Yeah.
If you're on an unsecured network, like at a coffee shop, a hacker could potentially intercept your data. The easy fix. Use a reputable VPN or just stick to your phone's mobile data connection. Much safer.
And desktop players. They face a different kind of threat, often one they bring on themselves.
Yeah, it often comes down to downloading sketchy software, especially when chasing that competitive edge. We talked about the HUDs, the database trackers.
Yeah.
If you download those tools from some unverified website, you're massively increasing your risk of getting malware, keyloggers, stuff that could compromise your entire computer, not just your poker account. It's a trade-off for using those powerful tools.
Right. Now, let's tackle something crucial for playing legally in many places today. the geolocation gatekeeper. Why is location tracking such a big deal right now, especially in 2025, in regulated markets?
Because gambling laws are incredibly strict about geography. The poker operator has a legal obligation.
Mhm.
They must confirm you are physically inside the borders of the state or province where they're licensed to operate. This isn't optional. It's hardcore compliance, no verification, no real money play.
And mobile seems particularly good at this.
Mobile is the most effective gatekeeper, yeah. It uses multiple data points at once. Your phone's GPS, scanning nearby Wi-Fi networks, and even triangulating your position using cell towers. This combination can often pinpoint your location down to just a few meters. Seriously accurate. So if you live near a state line and you literally step across it, the mobile app knows instantly and locks you out of real money games.
Yeah, that's incredibly precise. Desktop can't use GPS, obviously. So how does it handle location checks? Is it more of a hassle?
It is generally more cumbersome, yes. Desktop relies mainly on your IP address, which can sometimes be spoofed or inaccurate, plus mapping known Wi-Fi networks in your vicinity. And often, you have to download and run a separate third-party location verification plugin or applet just for the poker site. It works, but it's usually less precise than mobile's multi-pronged approach, and sometimes slower to confirm.
So if I'm living right near a state border where poker is illegal, my phone will likely just know instantly if I'm good to play. But my desktop might need me to run a special tool and could still struggle if my Wi-Fi signals are ambiguous.
That's exactly the scenario. It can be a real headache on desktops sometimes, especially near borders. Players might have to fiddle with network settings, maybe even physically move their computer setup to get a clearer signal for verification. A definite inconvenience for grinders.
Looking ahead, trends for 2025. The sources mention a couple of things. First, a clear move towards mobile-first regulation. Lawmakers are finally catching up to the fact that smartphones are how most people access this stuff now.
Absolutely. And tied to that, there's a big industry push for even better geolocation precision across both platforms.
Yeah.
As the tech improves, things like VPNs or proxies to fake your location, they're getting much harder to use successfully. The regulatory fences are getting higher and stronger.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize all of this. If we boil it down, the verdict seems pretty clear, depending on what you value most.
Yeah, I think so. If you're primarily a casual player, maybe intermediate, and you value convenience, portability, being able to jump in and out easily, then mobile poker is probably the superior choice for you. It's designed for those short, opportunistic sessions. The apps are slick, intuitive.
If you're a serious player, maybe even a pro, and your priorities are maximizing volume, needing rock-solid stability, and demanding precision, control, and multi-tabling power, then desktop, even now, still provides that definitive edge, the ability to run loads of tables, use those crucial third-party analysis tools like HUDs, that makes it the essential machine for serious grinding.
Which is precisely why the reality for many, many serious players today is the hybrid strategy. They don't just choose one, they use both. They're fluid. They'll use their desktop setup for those intense, focused grinding sessions, need the big screen, need the HUDs running, but then they'll seamlessly switch to mobile to continue a tournament while grabbing lunch or play a few cash hands while waiting somewhere. The cross-device syncing on major platforms is excellent now.
Okay, so this whole deep dive, we focused on which platform is better, based on today's tech, today's tools, the current pros and cons. But that gap, especially in performance, seems to be shrinking really fast. So here's a final thought. If AI keeps improving mobile platforms and 5G delivers flawless performance everywhere, and maybe, just maybe, they figure out a way to safely allow critical analysis tools on mobile, could we reach a point where the need for a dedicated desktop poker setup just vanishes, leaving only screen size preference and pure portability as the deciding factors?
That is definitely something to mull over, maybe next time you're deciding whether to tap that screen or click that mouse.
That's it for this deep dive.